Well, okay, guys, I have something pretty interesting today. So, to give you guys a little bit of backstory on this, and then we'll dive right in. So, last night I was banned from Quora without notice, without warning. And what I was trying to post at the time was actually a flat Earth, basically a curvature test slash proof for flat Earth, um, which we're going to discuss now, and I'm going to make this video about. And it was just kind of a weird thing. I had never gotten any warnings or anything like that before. I'd had a few posts here and there on Quora taken down. And Quora, you may know if you've ever used this site, it's become kind of a cesspool for bots and AIs. And I had actually wanted to do, because right now, my job, I work with chatbots, with AIs. That's what I do for a living at the moment. And as a user on Quora, you're constantly getting these DMs from these AIs posing as people, chatting you up, and generally posing as, attractive young women who want to date you. But as someone who works with AI and chatbots, there's, these indicators and giveaways. And so I kind of, whenever I get a DM on that site, I just run it through my process and find out pretty quick. Okay, yep, this is an AI. I'm not talking to a real person here. And I had wanted to do a video on that, but unfortunately now I'm banned from Quora. I have appealed it, but I don't know if they're ever going to reinstitute that or not. And maybe it's for the best. I'd produced a lot of content over there, mostly related to Bible doctrine, apologetics, flat Earth, and other topics, Nephilim, stuff like that. And I'm going to be honest, some of the content over there was starting to drive me crazy. There were some users there starting to sort of follow me around and harass me on some of my posts for being a Christian. Social media of any kind. I'm not on Facebook and or Instagram or any of these other mainstream social media platforms. Quora can loosely be called a social media platform, though. And they do start messing with your mind and your sanity over time. So, maybe this ban is a good thing, and it's the good Lord's way of telling me I just need to take my hands off it and back off for a little while. That I've put the material out there on biblical doctrine in the scriptures and things, and I've put things there that point people to Jesus, and I've done my job in that regard. And I don't necessarily maybe need to be spending my time over there anymore going forward. So we'll see how this ban situation turns out. But one thing I noticed is I wasn't able to log back in, obviously, because I'm banned. But I was able to get back onto the site and see my previous posts that I've made historically over the last year are still mostly there. The posts I made, a couple posts related to this subject that we're going to talk about in this video, this curvature test, and those had all been removed. So I don't know, maybe I got on the bad side of a mod who was a gatekeeper and they didn't like what I was posting about the earth being flat. I don't know. There are entire areas over there and spaces for flat earthers, so it's not like, so I don't really know what's going on exactly. I didn't feel like the ban was warranted. And I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but it doesn't matter. We're going to talk about this now. So basically, over on Quora, I was having a conversation with a guy. I was actually having a conversation with a couple flat earthers and this other guy who was not. And I, mentioned some of these curvature photos and videos where people can see city skylines way further out than they're supposed to. There was that one pretty famous video where a newscaster was talking about a photo taken of the Chicago skyline from Lake Michigan, way farther out than it should have been. He's talking about how it's a mirage. I'm pretty sure some of my other videos on this channel have talked about that at some point. And then this is a very similar situation. This is Milwaukee, the Milwaukee skyline, as seen from Muskegon, the other side of Lake Michigan. So this is basically what this. So here we have Muskegon's over here, I believe, and Milwaukee is over here. Let me zoom in a little bit and see if I can get those city names, make sure I have the sides right. I'm not from Michigan, so if I'm messing up the geography here, please don't hate me too much. But I'm pretty sure I've got that right. Yeah, Milwaukee. So Milwaukee's here on the west, and then Muskegon's over here on the east. And so this is from someone over here taking a photograph all the way across and seeing Milwaukee. So that's a distance of, I have different sources giving me different distances. When I actually looked it up, the two airports are 85 miles apart. But this video is going to say that they're 70 miles apart, and so that's what we're going to use, 70 miles across Lake Michigan here. So that's the official measurement that we're going to use. Let's go ahead and watch the video and see what we get.
A rare view of Milwaukee for you. It comes from the other side of Lake Michigan. Now check out this picture. It's of the city lights that were taken last Thursday night in Muskegon, Michigan, some 70 miles away from Milwaukee. So why does Milwaukee look so close? Well, scientists have a name for it, but it's best explained as simply a mirage.
It is cool.
Cool.
I know for Jesse.
That is amazing.
If Jesse Ritker were not off today, she would tell us the exact.
She'd have some more
term
details
they
on that.
use.
Yeah.
So they love to do this. They just call it a mirage because that's easier than actually explaining, well, what can't be explained. It's not a mirage. They're seeing the Milwaukee, but they have to call it a mirage because on a globe Earth you shouldn't be able to see that far. And so we're going to do some curvature calculations here, and I'm going to just show you the problem. That you should not have a direct line of sight to the city lights of Milwaukee from Muskegon, I think is how she pronounced it. I think I called it Muskegon. Like I said, I'm not from that area, so if you're from Michigan, please don't hate me too much. All right, so this is what's being seen, and from that video you can kind of see it looked like they were maybe in a parking lot on top of a hill, so they're not super high up in altitude either, but we're going to go ahead and give a huge benefit of the doubt to the person taking that photo, and what we're going to do is we're just going to say that they're on top of the tallest building in Muskegon, because the higher up you are when you are looking at distance, you know, it lets you see further. Basically, it gives you a better vantage, and so we're going to just make that assumption that they're on the, which we know isn't true from the photo itself, but we're just going to say that they're in the highest building in Muskegon as they're taking this photo, and we're going to see should they be able to see the Milwaukee city skyline. So what's the tallest building in Milwaukee? Well, here's some of them according to Google. The U.S. Bank Center seems to be the tallest at 600 feet. I believe this one actually says it's 601 feet. The U.S. Bank Center, completed in 1973. Okay, cool. So that's the tallest building in Milwaukee. And what's the tallest building in Muskegon? Well, this Facebook post from 9 years ago says it's the BC Cobb Power Plant smokestack built in 1974 at 650 feet. However, about 6 years ago, that smokestack was torn down. But we're going to use that as our observer height. We're going to put in 655 feet, which is the height of the smokestack, and if you had an adult standing on it, the eye height would be about 655 feet. We're just giving the extreme benefit of the doubt to the globe believers in this situation. So we're giving them the best possible vantage, even though we know that the photo was taken from a less optimal vantage point. But we're going to, so eye height, we're going to go with the 655. So we're claiming that they were taking it from the top of the smokestack, even though the smokestack doesn't exist anymore. Target distance, 70 miles across the lake. And so let's calculate this out. Here we go. Now we have a problem. Curvature is going to result in a target hidden height of 996 feet, and that is way taller than the tallest building in Milwaukee at 600 feet. The U.S. Bank Center and everything else in the Milwaukee skyline should be completely hidden by the curvature of the Earth. The horizon distance, if we're on top of that DB Cobb, the name of it, BC Cobb, sorry, I'm thinking DB Cooper for some reason. The BC Cobb smokestack, if we're on top of that, the horizon distance is 31.34 miles. You should not be able to see from Muskegon, even with the best possible vantage, across Lake Michigan to Milwaukee. It just shouldn't be possible. So we have a couple conclusions. Now we are making some assumptions here with this Earth curve calculator. One is that light travels in straight lines, and the other is that Earth is a convex sphere of radius 6,371 kilometers. That the Earth is the size they tell us it is. Light travels in straight lines. So there are people who will try to explain this away by saying, well, what's happening is that light gets bent by gravity around the Earth. So the Earth looks flatter than it really is. And for that reason, people are doing curvature tests using lasers of different wavelengths. Because if the light is being bent, that should be demonstrated when you use different laser wavelengths. The different wavelengths should be bent to different degrees, and it should be very apparent that light is being bent. That just doesn't happen. It's not the reality of things. Light is traveling in a straight line. It's not being bent around the curve of the Earth, making it look flat. So that we can't believe our lying eyes. We either live, as the Bible says, on a flat realm that's not a planet, that God specifically created for us under a firmament structure for humanity's habitation, or if we do live on a spinning space ball on a planet, the planet has to be much, much bigger than what they're telling us, which would result in less curvature per distance and allow us to see further. So take your pick. They're either lying to us about the size of the Earth, or they're lying to us about the shape of the Earth. The Bible says, let God be true and every man a liar. It really doesn't matter if they manage to convince all of us that we live on a spinning space ball. God is still true, even if every man is a liar. And recently, we have Kim Kardashian coming out and saying she's a flat earther. What Kim Kardashian is a very influential Luciferian propagandist. And so when she comes out and makes an extremely poor case for the Earth being flat, it has a reverse psychology effect on people. Well, Kim Kardashian, who kind of presents as a dumb person, although she most definitely is not, believes the Earth is flat, and she's got all these really easily debunked reasons for it being flat. Well, she's an idiot, and I don't want to associate with her, and her reasons are really bad. She's just got to be wrong about this flat Earth stuff. But no, it's a psyop. It's a psyop when you have a prominent, influential Luciferian coming forward and saying, I think the Earth is flat, but they're saying it for the wrong reasons. It's intended to have a reverse psychology effect on you and to deflect you away from the truth. The Earth is flat. And I don't believe that because Kim Kardashian believes it. I believe it because the Bible says it. Anyway, I hope you guys found this to be interesting. But what we're seeing here is most definitely not a mirage. We live on a flat Earth realm. Now, you might be asking the question, why can't we see this all the time? Well, we have a limited, and actually, now that I look at it, I don't really know. I was thinking this was concrete, and then, sand or earth or grass or whatever. I'm colorblind, so that makes my assessment a little difficult. And then, looking out across the water, this might be from being taken from inside a car or something like that. It's kind of hard to tell. I'm not entirely sure. Anyway, I'm not going to get hung up on that over assessing the situation here, but it's clearly not a picture from the top of the now non-existent smokestack, which would be the best possible vantage point. So why is it that we can't see this far on a normal day-to-day basis? Well, there's a couple different reasons. Whenever you're looking across water, especially, well, let me rewind and just put it this way. The atmosphere has weight. So you're not looking through something that's completely transparent that light just travels through forever. Just like if you have a lantern in the middle of the woods at midnight, that lantern's not going to light up the entire world. Not only will there be physical obstructions like the trees that block out the light of that lantern, but fog and the darkness, the light of that lantern has to push through that stuff. So you're going to have a circle that's illuminated by the light of the lantern that you're inside as you're holding this lantern up. And then people outside the circle may not be illuminated by the lantern, but looking in the direction of the lantern, they could see the lantern. And then if you go far enough away from the lantern into those dark, foggy woods, distance, the fog, and the darkness will eventually overcome the light of the lantern, and even if you have a direct line of sight to it, you're not going to be able to see it anymore, because the light from that lantern can't push through the darkness, through the distance, through the weight of the atmosphere, through the fog, through the dust and smog and all that stuff. There's a limited range of vision that we have. And so things like this would be on an exceptionally clear day when there's very little humidity and no clouds and weather and stuff in between, and you're just able to see that distance. And it does help having being a night shot where the light actually makes the skyline more visible. Interesting stuff, right? The same principle applies to the sun. People ask, well, if the sun's always above a flat earth, how come it's not daytime all the time? The sun has to push through clouds, the weight of the atmosphere, darkness, because the entire earth realm is shrouded in darkness. The sun is like a lantern that's moving over this vast plain, and that lantern only illuminates a little area at a time as it moves in its circuit. And then perspective and the darkness and the light of the sun being limited in how far it can travel, all those things factor together to result in our day-night cycle. And there you have it. Well, I hope that you found this video to be interesting, and you guys have a great week. God bless, and bye for now.